Hello coders, good evening. It is Thursday, and today it's a little bit of a celebration today because today I've got the first pass of a production build for the How to Code Well content management system and the CMS built. And last stream I was trying to get my Docker images down in size, and I've done a lot of work in the last few evenings to do that, and I've managed it. I've got it down really considerably. And today what I want to do is just kind of like run both the development build and the production build locally here and just try it out, just test it out. Another good thing that we've done is whilst I was doing this and I was playing around with the Docker images and stuff, I have managed to upgrade PHP to PHP 7.4. It was 7.2 before, upgraded it up to 7.4, ran the test, and there was a couple of things that I needed to tweak, but I thought as we have 245 tests now, it was a good place to. This project is in a good place for it to be upgraded. So let's get to the code. So this is the development build that's just happened. I wanted to do it off stream just in case it didn't work. So yeah, I'll take it right. Oh, that's as far as I can go, but I'll talk you through it. So this is development, right? So this is the development content management system. It's in development because you can see the dev toolbar, right? This is an API request that goes to that development box. Fingers crossed it'll return. Yep. Okay. So that's the logging in, getting the token, access token of the system. So that's good. And I guess what I'll do is I'll run our make tests. So this is dev, right? So this is going to do PHP CBF to check for issues with the code, and then it's going to run PHP MD, no mess detected. Then it's going to use PHP stan and analyze the code statically, running off of level 8. Remember, we are now on PHP 7.4. No errors found. Now it's going to validate the schema. That's all good. Then it's going to clear the development cache. Remember, we're in dev mode. Hopefully this will work. I haven't actually ran this script yet, so fingers crossed. Well, I did run the script and then there was some errors, so I fixed the errors, but I haven't ran them since fixing those errors, so I'm hopeful that this is going to be alright and it's not going to throw any kind of issues with permissions. No, that's good. Excellent. So now it's going to run through the tests, and we'll let that go. These tests, of course, do take a wee bit of time, although we are now running PHP 7.4, which is far quicker than it was, which is good. But yeah, just see a couple of green ticks before we move on. Yeah, that's good enough for me. Okay, what I'll do is I'll talk you through. Well, first of all, I need to let my cat out of the office, and then I'll talk you through the Docker file. Okay. Hey, Exabyte3, thank you very much for joining tonight. Don't worry about being MIA. It's all good. For the past few streams, I've recently taken multiple projects on as a freelancer. Oh, congratulations. Sweet. Oh, that's brilliant. Do I have any advice? Well, it's quite a broad topic. So, do you have any specific questions on freelance stuff? I'll be happy to answer. But yeah, plug away. That's really good. Congratulations. So let's get into the Docker files, because these are considerably difficult. What am I saying? Different to what they were before. This is the original, or this what was kind of the original. I was trying to play with Xdebug, and what I've decided to do is create some environments. So we have docker compose.yaml. This is the development one, and then we have docker compose prod. This is the production one, believe it or not. So if we walk through the dev one, we've got the API service here, and then down here we've got the DB service, we've got the content management service, and then we have Node. Woohoo! Because of course we need to have Node to build the content management systems assets. So the Docker files now live in their own little folders, environments. Let's take a look at the API one. So we now have development and production. If I click on development, okay, so we're using multi-stage builds here. Let me just bring this, let's just make this a bit bigger so you can see it. There we go. So, all right, we're running off of PHP 7.4, as I mentioned, Apache Buster, and we're running multi-stage build, so we can assign that an alias, so web server base, and then this is installing the base image, I guess you would say, for this. Well, the base image is 7.4 Apache Buster, but this one is the next one. So we're installing all the bits and pieces, enabling mod rewrite and the headers, then we're doing a cleanup. And then from this base here, we can then create another image, which is dev builder, or another part of this build, I should say, rather than another image. So what we're doing here is we're installing all the bits and pieces for so zip, unzip, curl. We're also installing Composer, and we're also installing Xdebug. Now none of this is actually in the production build. So this is only dev build specific. Okay, then from this, what we're doing is we are copying over all the files to the current working directory, which is defined, I think in the, it's defined in the Docker Compose file, that the working directory is var wub HTML. Okay, and then we're doing some fancy stuff with the permissions here. I would like to adjust that so it's not 777, but this is to handle the var log directories. And then what we're doing is we're exposing 80 and 443, and then we're running Apache in the background. Now, notice that none of this has actually installed anything to do with Node or the vendor stuff. And I've decided to do this on the host. So this, coupled with the make files, so I've got quite a few make files now. I'm on line 137. I've got quite a few make commands, I should say. So make install now does the install, now does the build, then it does a Docker up, then it does a vendor install. So this is running off of the host. It's then doing a DB rebuild and then a CMS install, which is off of this stuff. So that's what all of this was doing. So I just have to type make install and it installs the development environment. So that's that. I'm just going to take a sup of my drink and then I'll talk you through the production build, because that's what we're going to look at next once all of these tests are in place. Exabytes3 is saying like how to manage many projects, namely 2 full apps and 2 modules for an existing app. How to manage many projects. So I guess this is a time management question, is it? So how do you manage time based on these particular projects? So what I tend to try and do is have either a separate notepad for separate projects if they're big, right? I remember there was one project I had which I had many notepads on because I was there doing it over a good few years. So it's like a notepad per year per project. Or use something like Trello or Jira as a means of just managing your tasks, things to do. I find bullet journals really, really helpful for that kind of stuff as well. So when you're writing down your notes, what you need to do. In terms of writing things down, it's always good, I find, and I guess I have to say this is do as I say, not as I do, because a lot of times I don't do this. It's only when I'm super, super busy I do this. In the evenings, write down what you need to do the next day. Okay, so as soon as you get into the office, you can see exactly what you need to do and how to do it. So there is like no faff time. Like, it's there in front of you of what you need to do. And always try and put something in there that you don't want to do and something that you do want to do, and try and sort of like that becomes a little reward. I guess just get stuck into it. I mean, it's and with freelance, just remember that it's not just when you're working on client stuff, it's not just writing the code. You are a business. There is a lot of like taxes and stuff that you need to work through, a lot of admin stuff that isn't actually writing code and producing the products that you build or the services that you provide. It's actually just doing the legal things that make you a business. Do not, and now I'm talking from experience, do not leave those to the last minute. because you'll regret it. Okay. So yes, that's all passed. 242 tests, 40 assertions. Awesome question. How do I manage procrastination? Oh wow. Badly, I think, is probably the answer to that. How do I manage it badly? Yeah, I find excuses not to do things, and then so see sometimes I work better under pressure, and so I know that, and so I will push it to the end and then cram it in. But I also know that I work best in the mornings, so if there's something really difficult that I need to tackle, then I'll try as much as I possibly can to schedule that in the morning. So if there's a lot of like code that I just need to crack out, then I'll do that. But yeah, procrastination is a difficult one. I think being aware that you are procrastinating is the first challenge to get through. If you're aware that suddenly you've wasted an hour, yeah, then you try and rein that in. But I'm also of the opinion that procrastination is actually a good thing as well, because you are actually processing stuff in the back of your mind, even if you don't think you are. And also you are getting yourself, you're distracting yourself, which is always, in my opinion, a good thing sometimes. As long as you don't do it all the time, as long as you don't do it when you really need to buckle down and do the work. So for example, like if I get distracted and something is on the TV, maybe I'm making a cup of tea, right? And I just sit down and I'll watch the thing on the TV for 5 minutes. As long as I time box it and go back upstairs and do bits and pieces. I'm terrible at making a cup of tea, and as the kettle boils, I go back upstairs to the office. Hey Emily, thank you for joining. Yeah, I think it's a case of just trying to be aware of it. And I guess time management tools will help you with that, because then you can actually put values to times, and you can say, well, actually, even though I said that this project could be done within this week, I spent a couple of hours of that, not doing what I should be doing. And then once you have that sort of accountability, you become a little bit more sort of like, focused, because essentially that's what that means. Of course I do. Emily, you were here on the previous streams. Not last one, the two ago, I believe. How is it going? You alright? That's right. Cool. So 242 tests done. Now on PHP 4.2, which is amazing. Because that would have taken me, like, I remember doing all of these tests and having to go down and make a cup of tea and then come back and they were still processing. So the speed improvements is fantastic. Hey, did this for your dev containers as well. Nice one, Segfault. Yeah. So that is development, right? So we were just doing dev there. So that's the dev Docker file. So multi-stage builds, I'll go through it quickly again. So PHP 7.4 Apache Buster, web server base is the alias of that, and then this creates all the bits and pieces for installing MySQL or MariaDB, I should say, PDO, putting in the headers and the rewrites and so forth, cleaning up the code or the packages. And then this is installing all the build tools. So this is kind of the builder bit. So building zip, unzip, curl, xdebug, and then also composer. And then after this, it does some various bits and pieces to create the web server base. So notice that this doesn't actually install the composer packages. We'll do that when we get to production, and I'll go through that in just a second. So let's first of all go to Docker images and see what we got. We've now got this down to 498 megabytes, and if you remember before, that was like 853. I put it down in Discord the other night, so that's close to half, which is awesome. We're now going to do the production. So what I'm going to do I've got this amazing little task in my make file called make nuke. And what make nuke does is it nukes the containers, so it destroys the containers. It nukes the system, so that's doing a system prune, which is this one. System prune forcibly and everything. So this is destroying the whole thing. And then it's doing a vendor nuke, so getting everything out of the vendor folders, getting everything out of the public folders, and then getting everything out of the log folders. So this is basically starting from ground zero again. So if I was to do make nuke, so there we go, it's going to remove all the containers. -v will remove all the volumes. RMI equals all will remove all of the images. And then that's done. It's removing all of the volumes, hence the -v there. Then it's doing a system prune AF. It's removing all untagged images and deleting all the images. So that gives me back 414 meg. It was basically removing PHP Buster as well as the node bits and pieces. And then there we go. It just does the RF jobbies of node modules, vendor, and so forth. So we are back to, there we go, back to square one. So if I was to run install prod now, so instead of running make install, we're now running make install prod. So just to clarify, actually, just to test, we do docker ps-a, we should only have the gateway. If we had docker images, we should only have the gateway, sorry. If we did docker volumes, docker, I don't know if I can spell it right, docker volumes, volume ls, we shouldn't have anything in there. Okay, so it's nice and clean. It's a clean clean. So if we did make install prod, and as this goes, I will talk you through the Docker files. Emily's asking, what is this? This is I've created a development environment and a production environment for the new How to Code Well website, and I'm just testing the stuff locally first before I push it up to staging. Thank you very much, Segfault. I do hope this goes well. Yeah. What made Exabytes 3 saying, what made me switch to 7.4 other than performance? That's a very, very good question. As Segfault mentions, a few frameworks require 7.4 for the latest versions, and that's why Segfault did it. So performance was definitely a thing. But there's some nice little fancy stuff in PHP 7.4 that I want to use and play with. There's so many to mention. None least the data type handling, and the property data types and all that stuff. Really good stuff in PHP 7.4. Hi, no mulas. 7.4 is a pain. So this is going to take a sweet bit of time. So what we'll do, because we're starting from a complete clean slate here, what we're going to do is I'm going to take you through the production build. So now the major difference between production and development is that with development you include all the development tools, such as for example, if I went to the API in development, open this up, for example, xdebug, zip, curl, composer, all of that stuff. You shouldn't have this in production. Production should be nice and clean, in my opinion. It shouldn't have any of this stuff. It shouldn't have anything in there to do with testing. It shouldn't have anything in there to do with configuration of other development environments. It should just be specifically based on production. So, with that being said, if I was to open this, bring this up a little bit. This is... Whoops. How do I get... Come on. There we go. This is... you can see it's a little bit more involved for this. So, PHP 7.4 Apache Buster as web server base. We've seen this before. What I'm thinking to do, this is the same as the development one. I'm thinking that I'm going to put this publicly on the Docker Hub so other people can use it if they want to, rather than me, copying this in a Docker file. This is the bare minimum for the web server. So it needs rewrite headers, and it needs the PDO and the Maria DB client. That's all it needs from a sort of a basic standard. And then what we do is we move on to the Composer. So this is actually pulling Composer as a separate Docker image. It's setting the working directory here, and it's including composer.json and composer.lock from the host. So it's copying that into the containers, and then it's running composer install ignore platform requirements, no ANSI, no autoloader, no interaction, no scripts, no dev, and it's copying everything into the current working directory, which has been defined here. It's then doing run composer dump autoload, optimizing the autoloader, again making sure no dev, and then doing the class map stuff. So this is the stuff that gets... So essentially what's happening is Composer is building all the vendors' bits and pieces in a completely separate kind of sidecar image, if you will. and we can then copy all the various bits and pieces into the final image that gets built, which means that Composer isn't included in the image, the final image. So if we scroll down here, we now have a web server base as prod base. So this here is referencing this build, this one here. So as web server base, this is the alias of that. So if we scroll. So from this, as web server production prod, what we're doing is we're copying all the files to the current working directory, and then what we're doing here is we're copying over Composer prod to var web HTML, vendor, sorry, this is the source, this is the destination. So from the composer.prod, it's getting all of the vendor stuff and it's putting it into this container. So this is the magic of multi-stage builds in Docker. Okay, so we've already built composer-prod. This is what this is here, right? So if you think of this as a separate image, so it's already dealt with the vendor stuff, already done that. And what it's doing is it's copying the vendor from here into the web server prod vendor directory. Web server prod extends the web server base. So if you imagine that we have the var web folder structure here in this image, we're taking the Composer vendor directory that was built from here and we're plonking it in here. Okay, after that we are then running app_env to ensure that we are in production mode, turning off debug. We're then running bin console cache clear to clear the cache. Then what we're doing is some other bits and pieces to do with the logging, so permissions and stuff. Again, I really want to fix that. I don't want 777. And then, as I mentioned before, production shouldn't have anything that references any kind of development stuff. And there's a lot more to this that I need to add, but for example, production shouldn't have tests, shouldn't have Apache 2 config, shouldn't have codeception config, shouldn't have config for PHP stan or PHP unit or rule sets, it shouldn't have the Jenkins file, shouldn't even have the make file in it. It shouldn't have data fixtures or migrations or the configuration for the courses, and it certainly shouldn't have any backup SQL files. So like I said, there's a lot more to this. I'm even thinking of maybe putting this into a separate image to do like just a cleanup of this. Anyway, then it's exposing 80 and 443 as we've seen, and we push it back to Apache. That's the command that gets ran. And then once that gets built, we then do a whole bunch of other stuff based on the make file. If I show you that, so if we go over to the make file, so I ran install prod. So that's the build prod, which is this. Then we do up prod, which is that. So we build it and then we bring it up. And then what we do is we fix some permissions. We install the content management system, which is the node stuff. And then what we do, where are we? Here. We do a DB restore. So this is restoring the database from a backup that I have. So there's a lot involved. There's a lot more involved with production builds than there is with development builds, because with dev builds it's like, yeah, just put it in, it's fine. With production it's like, no, you got to make a decision as to, do you want to have this within your image or not. So yeah, this is still going. What have we got to now? We've pulled MySQL, MySQL, sorry, and we've also we're pulling down Node at the moment. So the Node library this node isn't actually going to be in the final image. The final image won't have this. So for instance, what we're doing here in the Docker Compose file, where are we with that? Where are we? Docker Compose prod. Here, if I scroll down to, what am I looking for? Node. Yeah, down here. So we have our own little node service, right? We have our own little node service, and it's bind mounting the current working directory, everything, all of this, into /app. We can then use this to build our assets, and then once that's done, we can then copy our assets over to the finalized image. This means that Node doesn't have to be on our production box. It doesn't need to be on our production box. All we need to do is minify our assets, compile the assets, minify the assets, and then put them on a server. Right? Node shouldn't be there. There's no need for it. Not for this project, at least. So if I showed you on the install CMS install prod, so the CMS has the front end. What we're doing here is we're pulling down Node. That's what we're running at the moment. And then if I scroll down, here we go. We do UI install prod. And UI install prod is going to do docker compose -f. So -f targets that production script. Oh, sorry, production composer, docker compose file. It's going to do and run. Now this is an awesome little command here. --rm will remove this container once this has been created. So we set the working directory to /app, and then we do node deps, and then we run node bash with this script yarn install. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of other bits and pieces, other little builds that I've got, makefile commands that I've got here. And then this one is the incore prod. So what this is doing is it's copying. Is it? Yeah, no. Sorry, this is building the incore production off of this. And then finally, it's doing the entry points. It's copying over the various compiled CSS to the various bits and pieces. So this all happens down here. And then after this, I finally do a UI nuke to nuke all the UI stuff on the host machine. Right. How's it going? Right, it's still doing that. Okay. Wow. Okay, sorry, I haven't looked at the chat for a while. So segfault, I'm just starting from the top here. Sorry, segfault is saying for Docker images, there seems to be there's some benefit to just including the actual dependencies into the image as a whole. For production, definitely, yeah. Less messy in case where you're deploying the image to multiple nodes, HA clusters. I haven't got that far yet. Or you're worried about consistency. I'm having a beer, by the way. Cheers, everybody. I just did my first PHP project. Awesome, known Yodas. I began using a library in March, and it doesn't look at all the same now. So if you're doing, if you're using external libraries and stuff, take a look at Composer. That's a really good package management tool for PHP. Yeah, definitely. Segfault, definitely, for sure. But depends on the needs for less important things. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, the stuff, not this project and not the projects that I do for clients, but other projects that I just do on the fly. Just, I'm not overly worried about the standards of stuff, It's one of those things. Sometimes it's good to just build stuff and see what sticks, right? Hack that stuff up. Take care, Segfault. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Oh, there's some really good references there. I like that. Like wild oxygen, yeah. Clean code, the clean coder, clean architecture, and the code complete are pretty popular. Yeah. Yeah. Exabyte is saying hydrate. Was I just talking really, really fast then? Yeah. Beer in a wine glass. This is a beer glass, man. This is a beer glass. This isn't a wine glass. Can you see it's taller? It's taller. Excellent. So we're now running through the yarn stuff, right? So we've done all the pulling and creating the containers. So here we're pulling the node. So this is the stuff that I showed you before through the make files. So that's now doing yarn install, and then which is doing now, and then after this we should do in core production. Hey, Infinite Galaxy, woo! Thank you for following Emoji Overload. or what are they called? They're not emojis, are they? Well, I'm going to call them emojis. Thank you for following, I appreciate that. I'll only have one tonight, I promise. It's a Thursday night. Yes, so now it's doing Encore. So it's doing that production build. I love it. I love it. Okay, so there's a couple of like warnings and stuff I probably should look at some point. It always freaks me out when when it hangs like this. It's like what exactly are you doing? There we go. Finishing up. Oh, that's what I'm doing. Okay, cool. So there we go. That's done. And then here it's doing the restore of the dumps BKP, the backup script, to there. Now, obviously, this will definitely be different when I actually put it to production, as in on a server somewhere, because we don't want to be putting the password at all on the command line. And I'm yet to think about how to actually push this to a production server. But anyway, that's all built from scratch, which is great. So let's see if it works, shall we? So this was the development, and you can tell it's dev by... Oh, hang on a minute. I have a horrible feeling that this is going to fail, and I think it's because... Yeah, the env file's not right. Oh dear. Let's just try it anyway. So let's refresh. Yeah. Oh, my env file had the dev in it. It should be prod. Oh, this is a shame. Right, let me do a Docker. Oh, that's a shame. Docker compose. What do I want to do? I want to do a down. I want to do a RMI, a V. I don't want to do an R. Yeah, I want to do an R. No, I don't want to do that. I would just want to delete the volumes. Because we can do a rebuild. Oh dear, what a shame. And if this doesn't work, I'm going to have to do a make nuke and then start again. Anyway. So that's stopping the containers and dropping the cache volumes, and I'm going to have to do Docker volume. This is something that I haven't put in my make files yet. Remove all of those. Now if I do make install prod, fingers crossed, something. Yeah, so it's going to find a load of cached stuff, which is great. So it won't be as long as it did before, because a lot of this is being stored in cache. So when it's saying using cache, it's using the Docker layers that have already been cached. That's a really, yeah, virtualization is when you send the whole house with the ingredients and everything inside. Yeah. So the way I think of Docker is that Docker is like a single room in the house, like a container, right? So the container being the bathroom or the kitchen, whereas virtualization is the whole house in which you have all the rooms. With virtualization, you have to come up with the resources up front, right? You have to define those things. With Docker, you don't. You don't have to define the resources. You don't have to define the memory or the disk space or the RAM or whatever. With virtualization, you do, which means that you become limited to your environment. Also, with Docker, you can, if we were using the analogy of the house again and the rooms in those houses, you can clone your bathroom very easily. And you can inject various things into those things. So, for instance, if you were injecting configuration or just code, just bind mounting things. So that's like changing the towels within the bathroom. But when you get to that point, you then start thinking about, well, with Docker, because you can isolate things so nicely, they then have their own responsibilities. So, for example, you wouldn't do any cooking in the bathroom. I did a talk on this. I've done a talk. I gave a talk at PHP South Wales or PHP Wales. I don't know if it's South Wales. Yeah, and various other places. So containers are the room and virtualization is the house. Yes. I wouldn't say they're like constructors, because you're mixing terminology there with programming. Constructors are usually used in object-oriented programming. Right, let's see if has this done anything. Yes, there we go. This is the production build. Right, so you can tell it's production because we don't have the development environment. And also, it should be super, super quick. So if we go back to here and then round that, yep, it's nice and quick. So yeah, we've got the production build working. Let's just see. I haven't actually gone any further than this, right? So I don't actually know if this is... I don't actually know if this works, but let's just play with it. Yes, it is. It's working. Oh, wow. Look at that. Oh, wow. This is brilliant. Ah, great. This is awesome. I love it. Oh, amazing. This is super quick as well, like really quick. I am chuffed. I am chuffed to bits. Really, really chuffed with that. Really chuffed with that. So yeah, images are the data to run in an app, to run an application. Yeah, I guess, yeah. And just to check, Docker images, what have we got here? We've bumped it up to 568. That's the size. And the reason why we have this is because if we look at our host machine, we don't have a vendor folder in here. We don't have it. We have it in here. If I go into Docker exec and we go into here and we do ls, we should have, yes, we've got the vendor folder. So the vendor folder goes with the image for production. Yeah, we don't have any node. We don't have any. I mean, there's various things that I could get rid of and just streamline it. I mean, if I was to take this one step further, let's do exit. I installed something the other day which was called dive. So can I do dive of the API? Yeah. So dive is a fantastic utility or tool that I've found that will that will sort of analyze your image and then tell you how efficient your image is in terms of disk space and disk usage. It will go through each of the layers that you created. It will also show you the code that was ran, that was executed down here in the command, I should say, this stuff here. And if I was to make this smaller, unfortunately it's not great on streams, but you can see here that it's got an image efficiency of 98%. Potential wasted space is 9.8 meg. And then it lists some things that you could get rid of if you want to. I mean, it's brilliant. It's so cool. Such a nice tool. Such a nice tool. And also, I should say, is that you can jump between the layers, right? So you can, or sorry, not the layers. You can traverse the whole directory structure. Yeah, like that. I mean, that's awesome. Hey, Matthew, thank you for rating. That's really kind of you. Thank you. Hey, how's it all going, everybody? Cheers! I am drinking a beer whilst dealing with Docker tonight, so thank you very much for all joining. I hope your stream went well, Matthew. Thank you ever so much for following, everybody.
Hello, coders.
This is an emoji explosion. Thank you. Yeah, so what I'm showing on here is Dive. And I guess what I should do, let's give it some credit. Let's go to it was GitHub. Well, let's Docker Dive. I'll probably find it. Yeah. If anybody wants to check this out, if you're into Docker, this is a fantastic tool. I'll put it in the chat. There you go. So this is what I'm playing with. On here. So this is the production build that we've just got. It's got a 98% efficiency, which is awesome. And I'm just showing off the various different layers here. The folder structure. So you can actually go in and discover various bits of pieces, the different files that you might want to get rid of, which is super clever. Can we get to it was var. That's where I want to get to. Let's just close these down for a minute. Sbin user, here we go, var. So the website is held in, let's get rid of cache, lib, lock. Yeah, it's in here, isn't it? So you can see all your files and you can see how big they are. So, for example, the .gits, I don't need that. That's 3.4 meg. I don't need that in production. We shouldn't have that in production. So that would be 3.4 meg saved. Do I want the bin stuff? No, probably not. This can go. So that would be 1.6 kilobytes. Codeception YAML should go. Configuration for various different environments should also go, as I mentioned before at the start of the stream. These environments should go. These are Docker files for specific environments. So again, they should be out of here. Certainly the MySQL stuff. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that I can play with to fix, to make this even smaller if I wanted to. And then of course we've got the vendor, which is 67 megs. Yeah. So yeah, there's a couple of stuff that I can do. I mean, that's 3.4 on that. We've got the Docker files, the backup, SQL. They can all go. Anyway, let's tab back over here. So this will show you what has changed. Can you see that's gone green and yellow? It will show you what's changed on the layers, on the Docker layers, which is so cool. So cool. Anywho, I'm pretty, how do I get out of this? Control C? It's usually the thing. Yeah. Let's just clear that down. Right. Docker ps-a. Okay, so now we've got the API. We've got the content management system, which is essentially the same container. However, well, it's the same image. However, the CMS has the front end. It's got the Node stuff, and the API doesn't. Then we got MySQL. We got Node, which is only there for build, so I can get rid of that. It's actually exited. And of course, we got the Nginx gateway. So they're the three components. Of course, we yet to even consider the front end. Right, the front end is built in Gatsby, so it's nice and light anyway. And then here we've got the images. Not the images, sorry. Yeah, the images. So we got a bunch of untagged stuff. They can just go. So that was kind of a byproduct from the build that we just did. We have Composer as an image. We also have Node as a separate image, and of course we've got PHP and MySQL 2. Just reading the comments. Lots of comments there. Sorry, I haven't read these yet. Bada boom, bada boom. Love it. Yeah, so a discussion there about Kubernetes. Is Kubernetes better than Docker Compose? GitHub Actions. I haven't actually done any GitHub Actions, and I keep hearing how good the GitHub Actions are. Matthew, I would love to have a look. Yeah, different is probably the right comparison there with Kubernetes. At How to Code Well, are you removing that that dive for now and then tweaking the Docker file after this, or would you have it automated these? So yeah, you can automate dive. So this can be in your CI if you wanted to. I'm not going to go that far down at this stage of the game. Certainly not. I have a deadline to meet. But it's certainly something to keep an eye on all the time. Hey, Abolisher Police! Thank you for joining. Very good of you to see you again. So, what should we do? I'm quite surprised that actually worked. To be fair, I thought that was going to fall apart. So I'm pretty happy with that. I guess what we can do, let's do make nuke, and then make nuke will just nuke everything. And then once we've done that, we'll build the development, and we'll just start. We'll just pick it up as where we left off with this. All the time, no mutas. Yeah, I've got pieces of paper floating about all over the place with different diagrams of all sorts of stuff. Yeah. Can't fit it all in your head. Also, I find that when you take your fingers off of the keyboard and you put, you hold a pen in your hand, you think differently. Let's just get rid of those volumes. I need to do this. I need to add a make file, a make command for this. All right. Let's now do. Before I do this, I must change the environment variable over to dev, And then what we'll do is we'll build dev. Sorry, make install. Okay. So whilst that goes, it's rebuilding everything from scratch again. Whilst this happens, what I'm going to do is take a look at our board. Our Jira board. This is the backlog. This is all the stuff that I need to build for this project. Quite a lot, as you can see. So the idea is still to put this in sort of a beta soft launch around September-ish time, and then have that as a period for content stocking. And we've already started content stocking, which is awesome. So I did say that content stocking would start in September, but we're actually bringing that forward. So, and I've got some really good help on that as well, which is nice. So this is going into the content management system and actually adding all the courses and the tutorials that I've done to this, which is great. So, and as we were doing the content stocking, we looked at some of the bugs. So there's, for instance, tutorial publish date needs to be fixed. At the moment, this is just saying that the time needs to be pre-filled. Let me sort that out. That needs to be pre-fill time in date picker. I'll show you all of this stuff when we get to it in date. Whoopsie. In date picker. Let's get rid of that for a minute. Okay, so, and then there was the removal of the subtitle. I don't think it's required. To be fair, I don't think it's needed. So we'll just remove that. And then of course we need to update the staging site, because now the staging site is very old. It doesn't have PHP 7.4 in for a start. And I've also got a task to do on the front end to update the API endpoint. This is going to be a Gatsby job. And then there's this one that's currently in progress, which is to pull down the information. So I'll probably tackle that one, I think, first, as it's in progress. So how are we doing with this? It's still building that down. Okay. So a place I used to work at, at Fast Hosts here in the UK. I worked there for a good few years as a PHP dev working on their control panel, and I was working on it's a hosting platform, so I was working on the hosting platform. They still have a very good dev team setup where they had like whiteboard wallpaper, so you could just scribble on the walls, and that was just amazing. Like, as a dev, that was great. Okay, so right, let's just have a look at that one for a minute. I'm not very good with filling out descriptions for these things. They're mostly just headliners of what I need to do. Update the user API to pull down profile information. I can't remember whether we did this or not. I'm not sure. I might have to go in and have a look at the controllers, and then it was the API. Well, it would be the API profile control. That would make sense, wouldn't it? So this is the edit, and you can see that all of this, because we haven't installed vendor yet, so we haven't ran the composer, all of these things are, the IDE doesn't know where to look for them, hence this is all grayed out. Anyway, so this edits the profile. Now I'm sure I changed the update, the getting the user. So if we went to user controller, I'm sure we did a change to the user process. Is that just gonna, yeah, here we go. User process profile. Patreon is subscriber profile. I thought we did something to this. Maybe in a different branch. Hey, we've got another emote, volcano. Thank you very much, Pasquiote, for following. Also, thank you very much, Coding with Calvin TV, Telly Learn Code, and obviously Matthew D. Groves. Thank you very much for following and joining. I really appreciate that. Now I've totally lost my windows, so let me grab this back. There we go. Just move stuff around. My screen's too small. So whilst this is going, I'm just going to chill out for a bit, I think. This is, where are we? Doing the database. Okay. So there's quite a lot involved from starting from scratch. Cheers, everybody. I'm having a really nice beer. I have not heard of Bulmer. Cool. So, yes, no mutas. You can definitely do that. I'll show you quickly the Docker Compose file. So this is the Compose file set up here, and if I wanted to, I could put in ports. So if I wanted to, I could do ports, and then I could do, say, 80 to 80, right? So this is publishing the ports to the exposed port of 80, and again I could do this to 80 to 81 or 80 or whatever, 80, 81 for instance. For this particular project I'm using a gateway, which is an Nginx sort of reverse proxy back to these things. It also means that with the reverse proxy I can have many little web servers behind it. You're more than welcome to join our Discord if you want. There is a coding help channel there that people will happily give you a hand with, and I'm in there quite regularly. And also, if you fancy watching some tutorials on Docker, then check out obviously the YouTube channel. Because I've got loads of Docker tutorials, and I also did a Docker. I promise this will be the only plug in here, all right, in this stream. But as it's very Docker centric, Docker in Motion. Let me just show you. This is Docker in Motion, a course that I did for Manning Publications, and it teaches all about Docker. So what I'll do is I'll grab a link which will give you a discount off of that. If I just find out the right tabs, bear with me just a second. Cool. So if you Docker in Motion, just get the right link for this. There we go. So this will give you 40% off. Of that course, and it will give you discounts on the other Manning publication stuff too. That's the only plug-in here. Right, let's move on to how's this getting on? We're doing Node. Node is huge. Like Node is like 900 megs. It's nuts. It's a big thing. It's bigger than the actual project. So how's everyone doing tonight? Is everybody good? Everybody had a good day? Everybody looking forward to the weekend? So I wanted to check the response, because I'm sure I set this to return the user profile, but it doesn't appear like it's done that. I've got the include path as profile, but I thought there was more than that. I thought there was I vaguely remember we did something which had the contact, the first name and the last name. Let me have a look at the schemas. User schema. Yeah. The get profile bit has the contact. Yeah, I'm sure of that. Last name and first name. Get profile. Get profile. That is referenced from the encoder, which is I gotcha, which is profile here. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So I'm hoping that this, wherever that's gone, excuse me, this is kind of done, but we'll verify that once this is built. And my internet connection, because I'm streaming, because I'm downloading a load of stuff, it's slowing down. Exabyte 3 is saying it's 2:40 a.m. and I'm heading out. Have a good rest of the day. No, I promise I won't. I promise I won't. Take care. Thank you very much for joining Exabyte 3. This is taking its sweet time, isn't it? I need code. I need a site to play with. Okay, so we were also going to remove the subtitle from the tutorials. So with tutorials, it was this entity here, and we were going to remove that. And in doing so, we would obviously need to remove the getters and setters. That's the title. So subtitle here. Let me just see as well if I need to get rid of or change the tests. So if we go to tests, I'll just do a quick search on the whole thing, I think. So let's search for a sub and then title. Okay, yeah, we do need to change that. This is tutorial test. There's quite a few. Okay. Oh, come on. Still pulling node. Yay! Now it's doing the fun stuff. It's pulling it Composer. Yay! That's good. That's good. It means that it's getting on. Because it would be nice, it would be nice to clear some of these tasks, being that the sprint is supposed to end in a day. I have been stood up too long today. That's a problem with a standing desk. You end up standing all the time, and then when you get to sit down, you just automatically slouch because you've been upright so long. Okay, so it's running through all of the Composer packages, including all the development packages, of course, and it's running this against the host machine. So this means that all the vendor bits and pieces are going to be on the host, which means that all the packages, all the namespaces, I should say, would be wired up correctly. And there's a lot of packages to install. Then after this, we need to do the Webpack stuff. So running Webpack, doing yarn install, and then after that, it's doing what's it doing after that? After yarn install, it's doing in-core production. No, not in-core production. That's on production, isn't it? It's doing yarn run dev. That's what it's doing. I'm not going to run the tests after this. I've already ran them. I know that they work. As long as the build works, I'm happy with it. So I won't bore you with this. After this is done, it's a case of just cracking on with those bugs. Because the changing of the subtitle removing that might seem like an easy thing to do, but this will require a migration file, because obviously the entity changes, and therefore the data schema changes in the database. So we would have to run doctrine migrate doctrine. So bin console doctrine : migrate : diff to get the difference, and then after that it's bin console doctrine : migrate : migration, or is it migration migrate and migration diff? Probably that way around. This is now running the rebuild script that I created, which is dropping the database, creating the database, running the migrations as they currently are. So 116 queries were executed, and now what it's doing is it's running the data fixtures. So we have our own little fixtures. So there's data in the database. Now it's dealing with Node. So here it's doing the yarn install, as I mentioned before. I'm sure these warnings they're going to trip me up at some point. Invalid bin field. I think once I'm happy, once I have everything running, and I have maybe a post live, I think what I'm going to do is go through all of the warnings. They're warnings, so they're not like major errors, they're warnings, and just go through them and give sort of a score to how important they are to fix. I don't want them to... I don't want to suddenly have to upgrade Node or upgrade, yarn or something like that, and then discover that all of this falls down like a pack of cards. Okay, so this is just finishing up with yarn install. Excellent. And now it's doing yarn run dev. So this is running on, I can't say it, on core dev. Again, there's a whole bunch of warnings and deprecation notices here, which I'm sure I'm going to have to fix at some point. Quite scary, really. And you know what people will say? They'll say, well, you were told. You complain because your site's down, but you were told. Right, so that's all done. So hopefully now, if we go over to the site, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just go straight to there, and then press enter. This should now be in development mode. It's going to be much slower. Because it's having to reload the Symfony cache all the time, and also there we go. We should have the debug toolbar Fingers crossed. Do we have that? Is that coming through? Yes, it is. Yeah. So that we got the debug toolbar here, which is good. Let me just make sure that I can still log in. That would be good, right? And essentially, for anyone who doesn't know, this How to Code Well CMS is for me to create, to update my courses and my tutorials on the front end of the new How to Code Well site. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build that front end because we need to play with it anyway. So you can see that the speed of this is crawling compared to what it was in production. Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's go and build the front end. Now, I haven't done anything fancy on the front end like Docker or anything like that. Not yet. I did play with it a while back, but then I failed miserably. Let's get to the portal. Right. So let's do make. What did I call this? Did I call it? Let's do cat make file. Do I have a make file in here? Run dev. Make run dev. There we go. Oh, no. No, that was when I was screwing around with Docker with Gatsby. Yeah, that's not going to work, is it? Let's do... can't remember Gatsby develop. There we go. That's the command. Couldn't remember the command. And I need to do nvmu stable. And it's actually an npm thing, not a yarn thing. So let's do cat or package.json and have a look at the commands. I'm sure it's like scripts. I mean, yeah, clean, Gatsby serve, test cucumber, dev, run dev. There we go, because we're using npx and esim. So, all right. So it is npm run dev. There we go. You can see it on my history. So what this is doing is it's building the front end, the Gatsby front end, which is the static site, and it's calling the APIs that have been built to pull down the various things that goes into GraphQL, and then it builds the nodes from GraphQL in a sort of a structured manner, I suppose. To build the pages. So what we're seeing here is it logging into the system. So it's logging into that API that we've just created, and it does this a couple of times because it's making various different calls. And then hopefully it should give me, at the end of this, it should give me a localhost address to run. Very slow. Do I do any vulnerability scanning on my NPM or PHP dependencies? Not on this particular project. I haven't got any yet, but I am doing some on a work project. It wasn't me who set it up. It was another member of the team. Yeah, so I have done it before. To check for vulnerabilities and various bits and pieces. It's certainly something that's on my list for this project. Oops. Okay, so that has now built. Everything has passed, which is good. We don't have any errors. So I should be able to hit localhost on port 8000. And I'll do this in another tab, and we should hopefully, yes, we get the front end. So these are the courses that are in here, right? So a lot of them are not active, for instance. So there's only a couple of them that are. Yeah, these are all the courses that I've created over the years. And then this would be the front end that comes from it. So the thing that we were working on, if I went to here, was update user API to pull down profile information. I'm sure we've done this. I'm sure that's in. So I just want to verify that. at well, I could do this via Postman, I suppose. It's a good idea. Let's do it via Postman. So let's log in first. And well, we're logging in via the system. We should log in via the user, I suppose. If we logged in via a free account. Let's get rid of some of these tabs. Is that a website address that you've tried to push in the chat? My bot is quite strict. Okay, so we've logged in with the user. Feel free to put it in the Discord. And if I get an opportunity, I'll check it out. So, okay. But usually what happens after this stream, I just go straight to bed. To be honest. Right, so we've logged in as a free user. So if I pull down the, what am I looking for? I'm looking for an API that will, this one will pull down the current user's stuff based on that bearer token that was supplied. And I'm looking for the contact details and the profile, 'cause I'm sure we've done this. Ah, that's not good. That's not good at all. Yeah, lovely to see you as well. Licky Wid Oxygen. That's an awesome username. Bit of a mouthful. Okay, so that's going to users API. That doesn't make any sense, does it? I think I've got my API paths wrong. Have I? Yeah, I've got duplicate API endpoints. That's not good. Let's get rid of this. Right, let's try that one. This one has authorization, which is the user token. Okay, here we go. Right, this is the return. So we've got the user, we've got the IDs, we've got the username, we've got the email, we've got the subscription plan. Yes, we do. We've got the first name and the last name. I'm sure we did this. Yeah. Okay, so that's that bug done, or not bug. That task is done. So just to sort of explain what happened there, because I know I went a bit quick. So what I did was I logged in, and I logged in with some credentials, so the username, the password, client ID, client secret, and grant type. That came back with an access token and a refresh token. And with Postman, what you can do, which is really, really cool, is you can grab the values that you've got, and you can set environment variables based on the values that you have. So this is getting the data access token, which was supplied from here. So this is the data variable, and this is the access token, and it's setting that in an environment variable, which is in dev. It's which one is it? It would be with public. Where are we? I'm looking for public underscore token. No, I'm not. I'm looking for user token. There we go, user token. So it populates it with that, right? So every time I log in, that changes. And then what you can do, which is super cool, is you can pull it back. So if I went to authorization, you can pull it back as a token, as authorization. which means that I can now like log in as various different people and, you know, basically use this like acceptance testing on APIs, which is awesome. So I tell you what I'll do in the Postman, I'll put it in the chat. Postman, is it Postman? Yeah, collaboration for APIs. This is what I'm using. So Nomudas is saying, is this a framework? Okay, let me take a couple of step backs here, because there's many things going on. So I have I've been building over the streams a content management system, which is this thing here, right? This is built in Symfony 4.4, and I've also built an API, which is also in Symfony, and then I've built the front end, which is this thing. This is built in Gatsby, which is JavaScript. So this is a static front end. So I have several APIs, as you can see. These are all API endpoints that I can send requests to. So, for example, URI is set to, if I go to the environment variables here, you can see that the value of that is API .howtocodewell.local, which is the API endpoint, which is, well, the API site, I suppose you would call it. Now this is quite involved. So if I went to on here, if I did docker ps-a, okay, so what we've got here, if I move that out of the way for a minute, we've got a gateway, and this gateway underneath, right? This is an Nginx gateway, and I'll give you a tour of that if I go over to, because this will probably make sense a little bit more. So with the Nginx gateway, Nginx being the web server here, what we have is various, let's bring that up a little bit. We've got various different servers on this one gateway. So we have the image server, we have the API server, which is the API endpoint, and we've got the CMS server, and we've also got the front end. Anything else? No, that's it. And what this is doing, if I scroll up to the top, I'll show you the API one. So anything that lands at api.howtocodewell.net resolves to this address, and we set the upstream to API running off of port 80. Now, obviously, when this gets to production, we'll be changing the ports and so forth. We then do a little bit of black magic to deal with the request here. So this is anything after the /, the first / gets assigned to the variable 1, and then we push that off via a proxy pass. So this is doing a reverse proxy back to the container, which is API, which is defined bear with me a minute. It's good that I'm doing this because I'm having to remind myself how on earth I built this thing. So in API, in the Docker Compose, here we go. So the API references the service. So this is the service API. Okay, so it's now, so anything that goes to api.howtocodewell.local goes to this service, which is the container for the API, which is the Symfony job. Likewise, if we went back to wherever it is, the gateway, and we scroll down here, anything that goes to cms.howtocodewell.local goes to reverse proxied, I think that's the right way of saying it, to the CMS service on port 80. So anything, after the / goes to there, to the proxy pass upstream. And then that then goes to, if I go back to the Docker Compose file here, this then anything goes to CMS, goes to this container, the CMS container. So we've split out these containers, the API and the CMS, and we can target those by accessing the various different URL endpoints. The last but not least, is the front end. So the front end is anything on /, and sorry, not /, anything on howtocodewell.local, right? So we've dealt with the subdomains, we've dealt with cms.howtocodewell.local, we've dealt with api.howtocodewell.local. Now it's anything just at howtocodewell.local. This is now doing the front end upstream, which goes to the portal. The portal is magically handled via Gatsby, which let's bring that up. It will be good. This is a completely separate project, which is the front end. So the front end is purely JavaScript, and then when that gets built, it calls the API and builds. So I've got some plugins here on. So we got the course plugin, the resource plugin, the categories, and the tags. If I go to the course, for instance, this one here. So this is all JavaScript. Right, where can I show you? Yeah, here we go. First of all, it does a system login, and then it's getting some courses, and then it's processing the courses. So if I clicked on here, we should see that it's doing an API request to pull down the courses. This is getting all the free courses, and then building the JSON, and then doing the various Gatsby magic to build all those things. So if I went to, say, courses, these are all the courses, and if I was to go onto one of these, for instance, you'll see this particular course, and if I clicked on Start Learning, so on and so forth. If I was to log in, so this is again making an API request, pulling back the things, and of course we've got fixtures, so I've already populated this user's account. Again, totally local, totally dev. We should see that we have a course that we've already enrolled, and if I was to log in, we should see, yes, these are the tutorials for that said course. Good. I'm glad that worked. Yeah, so this project, I'm building the front end, building the back end, building the API, everything. jQuery's cool. I've got many projects running jQuery. Yeah, the website is split into 3 servers, but yes, well, 3 containers. 3 containers. Yeah. Yeah, so with the Apache stuff, if I went back to the API here, we've got Apache running up there. So we have Apache, we've got the dev conf scripts, so we pass in the environment variable, which is document root, and we do some bits and pieces to do with overriding and requiring, and we've got the directory indexes, index.php. When this goes to production, obviously I'm going to put in the htaccess rules and stuff, which were from public, which I think is in here, so all of these rules will go into there eventually. It makes it faster. Why are you disliking coding? Okay, so that is... I keep skipping the tabs. Right, so that's that done. Call API endpoint with updated profile. Tutorial published date. I'm going to remove the title. That's what I'm going to do tonight. No, it doesn't. It never stops getting bigger. Bigger and bigger and bigger. Nope. It's always evolving, always rotating, always being manipulated and changed and altered. Yeah. But you don't have to learn everything. You don't have to learn everything. In fact, you can't learn everything. You just can't. I mean, this is coming from 20 years of experience. So, I didn't just learn this last week. You know what I mean? It's like, all of this stuff that I've done. Everything I'm showing today is basically an amalgamation of the past 2 decades worth of me slogging at it. Okay, so we all started somewhere, and there's so much more that I don't know. In this game, you just have to accept that there's more out there that you don't know than you do. Oh, that's very kind of you to say. I understand. I understand your frustrations because I've had those frustrations before, and it's and you do just have days where you just want to jack it in, and you're like, no, I can't do this. But the thing is. And this is going to sound super patronizing, and I really don't want it to come across as sounding patronizing. But you really don't do yourself any favors when you're comparing yourself to others. If you're, the only thing you need to compare yourself with is what you were like yesterday. Like if you're better than you were last week, then you're improving. Right? And anyway, the mistakes that you make are very valuable because you will remember those mistakes. I remember dropping production databases in production. I remember deleting web servers. Yeah, I remember just breaking things like all the time. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I want to do the tutorial remove subtitle jobby. That is probably that's a good little packet of work to do, I think. So in the where am I looking? It would be the entities. That's where I want to focus in the entity, and that's tutorial entity. And it's this subtitle stuff. We'll get rid of the property first. So this, well, actually, before we do this, let's just task this out. Let's make this a little bit more, because I need to put in like a checklist, don't I? So, change, and then entity. Hey, no, oh, that's very kind of you, Gnome Yodas. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Cheers. Unfortunately, I'm out of beer, but cheers. I'll have a little last dregs. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, I'm gonna write out now some, like, the way I should do this, because I need to change various things, and it's easy to forget all the various different intricacies. Just removing a subtitle there's a little bit more involved than that. So we need to change the entity. We need to change the test. We need to change change entity, change test. What else do we need to change? We need to change migration. Is there anything else? Test, migration. We need to change the API endpoint. Anything else? So yeah, just tweaking one little thing has quite a lot of knock-on effects. Oh, don't, no. I'm more than happy to be distracted. It's perfectly fine. It's good. I enjoyed speaking to you lot. It's great. It's nice, especially around this kind of time when everybody's sort of like keeping themselves apart from everybody. This is my sort of. It's nice to have that kind of community spirit on a regular basis. It's really nice. Okay, entity test migration API. I don't think there's anything else that I need to change just to remove that. Okay, so we'll keep that up. And I guess what we need to do is delete that. And then we need to delete the getters and setters. So the get subtitle, that can go. And that, yes, that can go. And that can go. That should be all in here. Right. Okay, so that should be done. So if we were to strike that off, where is the strike through? There we go. Okay, so now we need to do the test. So if I was to run the tests, and if I, from this shell here, if I did make test unit, we won't run it with coverage, just that. We should have a failing test now because it's requiring subtitle. So a lot of people are like, they ask me a lot of the time, like, why do you test your getters and setters? This is why, or one of the reasons why, because it's good to know what's being removed and what isn't being removed. So let's do tests and then unit entity, and what's this from? It's from tutorial schema test or tutorial test. Get subtitle. So anywhere that says get subtitle, I want to get rid of until these tests pass. So that whole test can go. That's good. All right, let's run the tests again. Okay, that get subtitle is still there in tutorial schema tests. Let's do Control O, tutorial schema test. There we go. Sub. Yes. Yes, I need to remove it from the schemas. This would be the API. Whoops. Yep, there we go. Okay, good. I'm glad my tests are picking this up, right? Otherwise, I would just have dead code floating about all over the place. There we go. That's done. Those tests are done. So let's go back to here and mark this off. So strike through. Okay, migration. This is a bit of a tricky one. I think what I'm going to do first up is deal with the APIs, right? And then, so migration first. I just because I think I've already covered them, and also migration is a bit bigger. Whoops, let's get rid of that. So, how do I test the API? I guess I run the API. That would be a good start, wouldn't it? If I did course API, if we did get course around this, I haven't used this API endpoint in a while, so I'm hoping this is actually an ID. If not, I can just change it. There we go. Okay, so we should have the tutorials, and we should have included tutorials So we have the title, yes. So that schema change did remove the subtitle from there. That's good. Okay, so there's another one that's just popped into my head. That's something else I need to change. So it's not just, so let's get rid of let's strike through that. There's data fixtures. We'll do the data fixtures first. The reason why I'm doing migration last is because that is the database change. The biggest out of all of this is all code changes, but this is a database schema change. So we'll tackle the data fixtures first. So let's go to the data fixtures and take a look at the tutorial fixture. So it's running an array of, these are files, if I remember rightly. Yeah, files. And yes, it's running the subtitle, so data subtitle. So I'm just going to put that in my clipboard, and then we're going to remove that there. And so like I said, these are running the files, right? These files are in config, in here, courses. These are the files. There should be, so this is for every tutorial, there's one of these. And there should be, yeah, subtitle. So what I want to do is get rid of the subtitle in every one of these. So the easiest way to do this is to go to this and then press up on the keyboard with holding shift. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to do this for each one. So this is going to take a bit of time, and it's not really that easy to do this as a regex to do a find and replace. So we'll just do this. Sometimes you just have to do things manually. And then once this is done, we'll run the tests again just to make sure I haven't broken anything. And then after that, we'll do the migration stuff. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to do this for every file. This is just the first one. Oops. And I've already thought of another thing that, oh, I missed that one. I've already thought of another thing that I need to do. I don't actually need to do this, right? I don't actually need to remove this. It's not it's not going to break if it's in there. But let me just see if I did miss that one. But it's good to clean it out. Whilst I have it in my mind, I do have another one. And this is front end. API client. Which is the Node module plugin job. Yeah. And we'll do that after migration. So this is not pulling in the title from there. Okay, let's go to Linux Bash for Beginners and do the same thing. And then of course what I'll do is, whoops, missed that one. When we do the git commit, I'll do a diff just to make sure that we've got the right things. I'm sure we will. So this is a bit tedious, I appreciate. Just you wait, next week I'll go, oh actually I wanted the subtitles back. As I'm doing this, I'm trying to think of a way I could do this, like as a regex, just to run through the whole thing. I can't think of any. I can certainly look for sub_title, but it's the value. It's this. Unless I did something clever that checked for the arrow stuff, but to be fair, I think we're nearly done. Let me just make sure. Yeah, there was one that I missed. Cool, let's tidy that up. Whoops. Nope. Okay. Right, let's get rid of that one. And this one, and that's it in that one. Oh, that was pretty easy. And I think we're almost there. We're almost there. Although this one's got a lot of tutorials in. This is my Python course. So if you're a Python developer, I've also done courses on Python. If you're interested in Python, I said I wasn't going to do any plugging tonight. So apart from the Docker in Motion. I'm really looking forward to getting this live. I really am. This is such a... I've been developing this for years, like literally years. So it'll be great to get this out. Okay, let's just quickly do a search on courses for finding path for subtitle. Can't find it in there. Sub_. Nope, not in there. Okay, good. Okay, I guess what I could do, just belt and braces, let me just do a find in path subtitle on the whole thing. So we've got we do have, these are subtitles for the course, not the tutorial. Okay, that's fine. And then this is course registration encoder. This is again the course. That's fine. That's course. And then we've got the schema stuff. That's okay. That looks good. And then what's that? Those courses. That's the subtitle for that. Okay, that's good. Right. Let me run the tests first. Let's do make test unit just to make sure I haven't broken anything else. Nope. Good. And then we're going to get rid of the data fixtures because that's done. Yay. Okay. Am I ready to do the migration? Let me think. Yeah, why not? We'll do a diff. So we'll do a bin. Oops, not that one. Sorry, bin console. It's doctrine. I can't remember what it is. Anyway, this needs to be done on the container. Let's just get into the container, shall we? Docker exec. I can't spell it. Exec. It doesn't really matter which one we're in, but we'll do the API. Right, because the API and the content management system share the same database, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so now I need to do bin console, and I can't remember what the command is, so this should come up with that. It's something to do with doctrine migration diff, I think. Where are we? Let's create. There we are. So this should create us a diff file, and it has done. Before I execute it, I'm just going to have a little nosy and make sure that it is dropping that table. Sorry, that field. So that would be in src. It would be in migrations and whoops, in this file here. Okay, so alter table tutorial drop subtitle. Brilliant. Yep, and then when we roll back that, it should add that subtitle. Yes. Okay, I'm happy with that. Good. So let's now do a migrate. So that will put it in migrate. Yes. Thank you. Sweet. Okay, good. So we've now done the migration. All right. Good stuff. Rocking through this stuff. Oops. Let's get rid of all of that. There we go. Okay. All right. So, I guess before we do the front end, we need to do another thing, which is to update test DB. So the database, with the API tests and the integration tests, they roll back the database for each test. So we need, because we've made this change, we need to make sure that that database has been updated. So that database is held in tests data. There we go, dump.sql. It's just an SQL dump of that. So what I need to do now, after I've done that migration, is I need to dump the database. Essentially, let's come out of the container for a minute. Whoops. Because of course I have a make file for this. Let me think. What do I want to do? I want to do make db rebuild. Okay, so we're going to rebuild it. This is going to rebuild the database, run all the migrations, and then run the data fixtures. So this is a way of testing that the data fixtures are working. So 117 SQL queries were processed, and then it's going through all the migration, all the fixture files, repopulating the database, and there we go. So we shouldn't have the subtitle at all in the tutorials. Marvelous. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is to do a, I'm sure I have it in the make file. I'm sure I've got a database backup. Here we go. So it's going to do the backup, and it should it's doing a Linux stream redirection to tests, so it should override that file, this one. So it's db backup. Okay, let's get back to this. So make db backup. Okay, there we go. No, oh. No, I've gone and called. I need to change the make file. So it's deleted now, which isn't great. I need to change that db. That's db migrate. db backup. Here we go. I need to change that. Sorry, I've got itch. Change that to be db, because that's the name of the service. Right, let's give that a go. Yep. I think that's the password. No, unknown database table. MySQL dump updb test. Unknown db. Unknown database db. Sorry. How to code well. I've changed all this since the last stream, and I just haven't done a backup since. There we go. So that should now be, let's just check it, double check. There we go. We now have the file. Woohoo! All right. Good. So I guess we can check this by doing make test API. So this is just going to run the API tests. I only want a couple to run. I don't want all of them to run. I just want to know that the database is being rebuilt correctly, which it looks like it is. So we'll wait for 3 to go. So that's 1, and then it rebuilds the database. That's 2, and then it rebuilds the database, and then 3. Come on. Don't fail on the third one. Thank you. Okay, good. All right, that's that done. All right, I'm happy with that. So let's go to, because if this was wrong, it would give me an SQL error. So that's that done. The last thing is to deal with the front end. So this is the API client. So if we went to this terminal here and we came out of that, so we now have killed that. If we were to run dev, I'm assuming we're going to get some errors because the Gatsby front end requires the subtitle. So we'll wait for that to run through. In fact, what I should have probably done, let's do an rm.cache and public and that needs to be rm minus rf. Yes. Okay, so I deleted those files. Okay, let's run that again. And what I'm looking for is, after this has been processed, so after the system's logged in and stuff, it should process the nodes. So at the moment it's transforming those. It's source and transform of nodes. What I'm looking for is an error, and I'm assuming there is going to be one. I'll be surprised if there isn't. I'm so sorry. I didn't wish you good night, Infinity Galaxy. Thank you very much for joining. You left a while ago, but I'll say good night. Okay, so now it's transforming the other bits and pieces, so it's doing a lot of API calls to build. I'm kind of hoping that this is going to fail. So this is now building that development bundle. It's taking longer time. Oh, there we go, it worked. That's strange. That is strange. Let's not sure about that, to be honest. Let's go and load the front end again. So it would be courses, it would be a tutorial, and let's click on, say, well, let's start learning. Let's click on that. I do not like the contrast in colors here. Looks awful, doesn't it? I am not a... Ooh, here we go. Here we go. Cannot read property attributes of undefined. Alright, let's go back. Oh, it's all gone. It's all... And that hasn't gone through. Okay, let's click on this one. That, I think I may have just spotted another bug. You know what? I think we're not actually displaying the subtitles, so I think that's okay. What I want to do though is just see that bug. So I think the front end is alright. What I'll do is I'll come out of that. There we go. I thought we needed that. Actually, I suppose what's the best thing to do is to go over to the to here and just do a find in path of src. Let's find sub underscore title. Okay, so we got plan card, we got plan selected, so that's the plan, that's fine. Courses.js. Yeah, that's okay. It's only the courses, not the what's that one? Yeah, again, that's course query. Okay, that should be fine. So I'm happy with that. That's not required. Okay, so that is good. I am happy with that bug. We've now removed it. Sweet. But I did spot something, and that was that's an issue that does need to be addressed. If we... Okay, so the way I did this was I was at the home page and I clicked on Docker for Beginners, and then I hit Start Learning, and then it threw a wobbly. So I'll just try and replicate that again. Yes. Alright, and what I'll do is I'll copy all that. Well, let's copy that first. I'll put this down as a bug, because that's not good. That's far from good. Let's go to backlog. Well, let's just hit create. error when enrolling on course. Double L, I think. Okay. And the error, whoopsie, here we go. There we go. I will paste that in to and I guess I should put in like a step-by-step of how I did this. So it was log in with, whose account was it that I logged in with? Go back. Is this not going to let me go back at all? There we go. So I logged in with this account. So it's free test 1. Log in with free test 1. Click on. So we logged in, and then we're at the home page. Click on Docker for Beginners. Here we go. Click on Docker for Beginners course. Okay, and then after that it was click on Start Enroll. Is that how I spelt it? I clicked on there. It's Start Learning. There we go. Start Learning. I thought it was that. Start Learning. And then notice above error. Alright, so it's a bug, and I'm assigning it to me. I will put it into tests, and it's, yeah, I'll create that. Good, alright, so there we go. So we fixed one and we found one. Brilliant. Brilliant. But today was good because we managed to get the the production build and the dev build. I managed somehow to get the image down from about 800 megs down to 400 and something. So that's good. And we managed to get a bug off of this board. There is many more to go through, of course, but and features and stuff, but we'll work our way through. But yeah, I'm gonna shoot off and grab some sleep. But thank you ever so much, everybody, for joining, and a massive thank you to Gnome Yodas for subscribing. It's I really appreciate that. Thank you very much, and thank you ever so much, everybody, for following as well. Take care, everybody. Happy coding. Stay safe. See you again next time. Cheers. Bye bye.